into a mission to guide others towards healing and empowerment. Tammy inspires individuals to rewrite their stories and step into their best selves. Tammy, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me, Chris. I'm excited to be here today.
We're definitely excited to have you, and we're actually here promoting your special event, Shattering Stigmas, a summit on redefining mental health narratives. So I'm going to bring this up on the screen for our viewers to see, and why don't you just explain a little bit about it?
Okay, so it is a summit, and just like you said, it's about shattering stigmas. And people wonder what are stigmas, and it's anything that you don't understand. So you kind of put your own connotation to it and explain it in your own ways. Well, in the mental health field, there's too many stigmas, and so much is misunderstood. So I designed this summit with 45 speakers that literally talk all about different stigmas. So they could be talking about, how healing doesn't have to be heavy, or how you can't mix energy healing and religion, or why men don't cry. Just all these different stigmas that we don't understand. And I'm super excited because all 45 of the topics are different. There's doctors, there's therapists, there's psychiatrists, there's healers, all kinds of different people on there. So we're doing it over 3 days. So it's going to be December 10th, 11th, and 12th from 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. Eastern time. And then for the VIP people that want to join the VIP session, they get an extra panel day on the fourth day where they can actually meet the speakers and talk to them. But even the free event, it's free for whoever. We want to make it accessible. We want to spread this word to as many people as possible. You have access to all of the 45 speakers for 7 days after the summit. So you have time to sit, digest, and rest. And I know a lot of people ask me why over the holidays it is so busy. And that was exactly why we did it over the holidays, because it is so busy. And during the holidays is sometimes when people that are having distress or mental health issues or any kind of adversity, they need a little extra support.
We will be putting the link to join the summit down in the show notes, so don't worry about needing to grab a pen or paper for that. You will be able to see that once this episode has been over, and we'll update that soon. So,
Perfect.
so Tammy, just going into this now, this is such an important, you know, such an important thing that you're doing right now. Can you tell me a little bit about what drove you to do this summit?
Well, I work with primarily adult children of alcoholics and dysfunctional families. And one of my clients actually said to me, Tammy, she had an autistic daughter, and she said, I am so tired of all the stigmas about autism and things people just don't understand. And my podcast, I have a lot of experts come on that answer questions for my clients. That's how I get my experts for my podcast. So she said, can you have a guest come on and talk about the stigmas about autism or just mental health, issues in general? So I put something out looking for guests, and I literally got over 200 people within like 30 minutes that wanted to speak on different stigmas. And I thought, wow, that's an amazing, I have a summit right here. I have all these people. Like, the reaction was overwhelming to me. I ended up by the end of the third day with over 500 people that wanted to speak.
That's pretty amazing. 500 people. It sounds like you're going to have to do another. Well, if you have another 10 summits, then.
Well, we have definitely one planned for the spring already. We already got that waiting list because, that was overwhelming. So, but it just showed me the passion. People are like, oh my gosh, I want to explain this. Oh my goodness, I want to explain this. I have to tell them this. And things that I never thought about, which some of them I actually resonated with. I was like, wow, that makes sense. Like, one of them was being a NICU father or mother, where you had a baby that went into the NICU and the attachment bond and all of that stuff. And I'm like, wow, my son was in the NICU for 10 days. I never even thought about it. So you just don't know what we don't know. And if we don't understand something, we tend to judge it or fear it. And we want to stop that.
Oh no, for sure. Understanding is so paramount to that whole fear angle, like you said, because I always quote Star Wars in this. Yoda, fear leads to anger, anger leads to hate, and we don't want any of that. So thank you for putting out the summit. There are so many stigmas. Actually, you were mentioning before show a little bit? Why don't you go a little bit into your own journey and why this is actually so important to you?
So both of my parents were alcoholics and pretty abusive, one of them, and neglectful. And I didn't realize until I was getting ready to have my first child that I was so confused about just big general life concepts and that they were following me into adulthood. Like I didn't understand unconditional love. I didn't understand relationships. I didn't understand any of that. But then people started telling me, well, they're out of the picture. You should be fine now. They're gone. You should be okay. You don't live with the alcoholics. You're better. And made me realize right there, oh my goodness, there's so much not knowing. Like I had so much healing to do. And I did it over 30 years. And now I have this like tremendous bag of tools that I can help other people kind of jumpstart and fast track that healing. It doesn't have to take 30 years. It did for me because I didn't know any better. So that's why I do what I do, is to fast track people's healing and just be a light on the other side of the tunnels to say you're worthy, you're loving, you're deserving, and you got this.
I love that, and you bring up something very very interesting too, because the saying is, and I actually had this discussion with someone recently on my show. That saying, "Time heals all wounds." Well, that may be true of the physical body, but the internal wounds are timeless. So unless you are actively going in and trying to repair that, it's just going to sit there and bubble up every so often.
Absolutely. And I love that. That saying drives me crazy because I'm like, no, time does not, time heals, like you said, a physical wound, a broken leg, a scratch on your arm. That's the wounds that time heals, not the emotional wounds.
And a lot of us don't even tend to even realize that. And we're just running around. And the example, I really like these different authors. The author in specific I'm thinking of is Michael Singer in The Untethered Soul. The example he gave was, let's say that, your significant other was kissing a woman in a blue car or something. And now every time that incident ended, and maybe you broke it off with that person, but now every time they see a blue car in traffic, they're like, and they got this road rage going on, and they don't even consciously process that.
No.
So these incidents can really impact us in ways we don't even really understand.
Right. And so many of us, we're running in this trauma reactive world because we have so many things like that buried in our subconscious mind, but we're acting on it. When the rubber hits the road and you need to make a decision, it's your subconscious mind that jumps out and makes you react or act or make that decision, not your conscious logical mind, which knows, okay, blue cars don't make my husband cheat on me or whatever, you know what I mean? But it doesn't matter. That's why so many people are walking. I just did a speech the other day called trauma informed leadership in a trauma reactive world, because so many of us are walking around and it's just language that we use can be so damaging to people, and just things we say and the ways we act. And millions of us are walking around like that. It's not just me. I mean, they say 1 in 4 children grow up now with an addicted parent. So 1 in 4 adults had a addicted parent. So, we're all like that. And if we just better understood things like the subconscious mind and how we do that, and the fact that all those beliefs, all those triggers can all be undone. That's the promising part.
Excuse me. Oh, for sure. That is the promising part. And excuse me. I would like to just mention too that as we're talking about addictions and addictive parents, I mean, we talk about substance abuse a lot, but we don't talk about other behaviors. And those other behaviors can also be as trauma inducing as the alcoholism, because an addiction is an addiction, whether that's to Facebook, whether that's to Legos, whether that's to anything. I never really considered that before. Have you run across that in your?
Oh, absolutely. And a lot of people, that's just an addiction is your way of calming the stress of dealing with a stressful situation. So you might be 10, and like you said, it might be scrolling on social media. I mean, that's a form of dissociating. Literally, when you get overwhelmed and you can't deal with life or can't deal with what's going on, what do people do? They pick up their phone and they scroll for 4 hours and just completely avoid they have to deal with. It's literally a form of dissociation. And you're right. And also, I tell my children, I have the characteristics of an alcoholic because of how I grew up. So whether or not I ever picked up a drink, I would have still had those behaviors. But I found even in my own life when I was like, okay, I'm not going to drink, I'm not going to be like my parents, I started gambling. And then when I didn't live near a casino, I worked 4 jobs. So you're right. You just move from one thing to another. My sister has been in recovery for years, but now she's a binge eater. It's a different dopamine hit. That's all it is. It's your drug of choice. And I say drug meaning dopamine hit.
No, for sure. And the another thing as well that we don't really understand about trauma, and I was actually going back and getting some additional education on this myself, because now we have trauma that is trauma adjacent. And don't I'm not through the course yet, but it's where even as young children, if your friend has alcoholic parents and it's affecting the friend, now we're understanding that that individual child, even though they didn't have, you know, uh, access to that environment, they're still being impacted by it.
Oh, absolutely. Because that friend's coping skills and communication skills and all of those things are different. They're being impacted by the alcoholism and it's rubbing off. It's why it's so widespread. It's why it's generational. And it's why it's also, like you said, this adjacent addiction or adjacent behaviors, because it's all if that's your best friend and you're living with them or staying with them or seeing their parents on a regular basis, it's what and so it becomes your reality. And that's why so many people come into adulthood and they might say, well, my parents weren't alcoholics, but your best friends were, and that's what you saw and that's what you learned. And so it's like I said, it's coping mechanisms, it's communication skills, it's emotional intelligence. Those are all the things that children lack that grow up in that environment. So if you spend a lot of time there, you're going to lack those skills.
Mm. No, that's some very good insights there. We are coming up to the end of the time here. I want to be respectful respectful of your time. I know you're very busy getting ready for the summit coming up, especially the holidays being crazy. Is there anything else that maybe you feel that we should have touched on that we didn't touch on?
No, just that I do want to talk just a little bit more about, even though it might not, you might say, oh, I don't have, now that we've been talking about addiction, I don't have that. There is something for everybody in this summit. Like I said, you might not know what even resonates with you, but some of the topics are so broad. I have men speakers, I have women speakers, it's a diverse thing. So it doesn't hurt to sign up. Just sign up. It's free to sign up. And then you'll get a list and an email of the speakers and their topics. So if it's something you want to listen to. And like you said, you can binge listen or you can just set it aside, but there is something for everybody.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Tammy, and thank you so much for your time. What's the best way for somebody to reach out to you if they have questions or they want to just say hi?
Just go to my website, tammyvincent.com, and there's many different ways there to reach me. You can book a coffee chat, whatever you want. I'm always here to talk, answer questions, and just be a support for people. Or
Excellent.
just say hi.
I'll just say I like that. Just say hi. Actually, I have my own chat there with we do dad jokes sometimes. So
Yeah,
sometimes just anything to have that human connection, right?
absolutely.
Well, thank you so much for being on the show today, Tammy, and to all our listeners. Be sure to check out that summit. I know that I'm going to be checking out that summit myself. And just again, if you can't find that motivation or inspiration for yourself today, maybe try and go out and be that inspiration or motivation for someone else. And we'll see you again later on.
Bye.
There we go. Cool. So that's uploading. There we go.